So thank you all for coming here. There's still pizza over here and cookies and water, and so if you want, at any time, just go get you some while this is going on. Hopefully this will turn into more of a discussion. Most of you have heard Eric on Zoom in my class, and so you know pretty much most of his story, but he's going to go back and talk, because there's several in here that haven't heard his story. So obviously he's going to go back and hit some of those highlights and talk about some of the issues. But this is really an opportunity for you guys to really, we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. Since the pandemic, he hasn't been here. He was here. I had him at Beaver when I was teaching at Beaver, but and he recently, in my juvenile justice class, you're actually reading his book, but he has copies of his book here, or you can do the ebook you can use the QR code up here, or there's one back there you could pull off if you want to get his book, or the other one. We're right in the middle, and we should be through actually the end of December of our second edition of the Through a Convict's Eyes, but if you I think you ought to hold off on that book. If you're going to purchase one, just maybe wait a couple of months. And you can get that one with the updated version of it. So, and I'm going to just tell one story with Eric to get it started, and then I'll turn it over to him. But back in 1985, four or five,
when we crossed paths
USP, that's when you were there, right?
in Utah?
Yeah.
85? Yeah, I think
Yeah, it was 85. So yeah, that's a long time ago. But I was a corrections officer in the prison, and he was actually on the block where I worked. I didn't really know him then, other than he was just an inmate. But I do remember his size. And I did remember the other corrections officers and some of the staff saying that you don't want to mess with him. I've asked him to share that look with you today. You going to share these?
We're going to try.
Okay. But he's going to talk about that here in just a minute. But I just remember, there being a little bit of a hesitant on a lot of people to deal with him, because he had a philosophy, and he's going to share that philosophy with you in a little while, about how he survived inside of a prison. But between state and federal, he spent a long time in there, so he'll reiterate this, and he'll start pointing at you for questions, but he wants to really create a discussion with you rather than him just sitting up here lecturing, okay? He's really about my 100 class, you guys that are in that, you guys created a discussion with him, and it was pretty amazing to watch all of you.
Who's in that class? That was my class. And when I say that, you guys psyched me up. You pumped me up so much.
Are you interrupting me?
Of course I am. Who drove 800 miles to get here?
Okay, all right.
Calm down, mister. Nobody ever talks to the PO like that. I had to give him a shot.
He went on forever after that when he talked to you guys on Zoom, so thank you for the way you did that. But I think all of these students are wonderful, and they can really create a conversation with you, and that's really what we want to do. And I know there's several in here that have not heard him, and please feel free to ask your questions. He is an open book, and that's what I love about this guy.
Literally.
Yeah, he is an open book. Eric and I, people think it's weird that I have this relationship with a guy supervised on parole. But, we have this saying between each other that we are definitely brothers from other mothers.
Brothers from another mother.
But you don't have that opportunity very often in your job to have that kind of unique relationship. And at first it was guarded, obviously, but over time, now that we've been doing this and connected for 26, 5, 25 years? 40 years?
24.
Oh. 24
God, do I gotta
years.
remember everything?
Well, you're the brain of our group.
Boy, we're in trouble.
So 24 years where he has been speaking in my classes and we've been connected. So before that, it was professional relationship as a probation officer and a person on parole. I was in federal when I supervised him, and we were supervised release. It wasn't called parole, it was called supervised release, but same thing. I'm gonna turn the time over to you. So we're gonna, obviously, we'll be ending around 1:15 unless, and some of you can stay after, hang out, talk to him. He'll be here as long as you guys are here talking to him. So I know some of you will have classes and other things you have to do. And he's more than happy to stay longer if you have questions, but please drill him on the questions because that's how he works. So I'll turn it over to you, buddy.
First off, there is no question you guys could ask that I will not answer. There was a time that, there was certain areas I wouldn't go down. Like LeVar says, I'm known for pointing people out, and there's no specific on who I'm gonna point at. If I see someone that looks like they might have a question, but you're not sure if you could ask it, ask it. I'm not politically correct. I say what's on my mind, but I'm not gonna talk at you, I'm not gonna talk to you. I'll talk with you guys all day. I'm not the one gonna sit up here and say that I'm any better. I've done 18 years in the system. I've been in 2 different state penitentiaries. I've been in a federal penitentiary. I had a U.S. Marshals kill order put on me after an escape. I am nowhere, I will never think that I'm above anybody in here. You guys are my therapy, if that makes sense. You guys keep me doing what I do. I tried to just keep people from going down the roads that I've gone down. I've paved a lot of these roads, so please stay the hell off them. I'm a dope fiend. I've got 39 years clean. Back when I was doing drugs, I was to the point where I was taking coke, heroin, and meth and mixing them and shooting it. I could clean this library in 15 minutes. Didn't have any sense, but I was wound that tight. You guys have all, probably everybody in here, who hasn't heard my story? God, we can count it on, I can do it on one hand. I've never had that. This is cool. If you guys want more than what you're gonna hear today, don't hesitate. I'm here for 3 days. God, I got lost here. Where do you want me to start? Give me a little guidance here, young man.
Oh, now you're wanting my opinion. I think,
I bow to you, young man.
there's a lot of audiences of different courses I'm teaching right now, and a lot of interest in how history or how your social history, things that have happened in your life, how they've impacted your decision making. Whether or not you take responsibility or not is beside the point. It's the fact that you have gone through a lot of experiences in your life that created this pathway for quite a while. And I think it might be good to give them some background on the kind of life you had when you were a young man growing up. And maybe more detail than what we've talked about in class.
Y'all know that I grew up in a hostile, very, very abusive household. I've explained all the different things that I've been beat with and all this. I got into doing drugs back then. We're talking 9, 10, 11 years old. As I went through, I got into bigger and bigger crimes, doing burglaries. At one point, I was involved in a homicide. I've done a lot of different things, and my whole point coming to about 15 or 16 years ago, my idea was why is everybody mad? I'm the one going to prison. And then I had an opportunity to be involved with a program where we had basically victims coming in telling their stories, and it finally clicked. I'm responsible for a whole lot of people's lives being totally screwed. I'm an old dealer. I sold a lot of drugs. But at that point it was, hey, this is my job. I got a job to do. I'm trying to make money. I don't give a shit why you're taking the drugs or who you are. You pay me, I give you drugs, I'm happy. And it took like 15 or 16 years ago, it finally dawned on me, listening to some of these stories, that I am actually responsible. And I'm one of probably the few percentile that'll actually sit up here and tell you that I take full responsibility and accountability for all the dumb shit I did. Nobody held a gun to my head. Nobody told me I had to do this. Nobody threatened me. I did it all, and I take responsibility for it all. That's the key. If I would have known this 50 years ago, who knows where I'd ended up. But I look at things kind of strange, because I'm kind of glad that I went through what I did on one hand, because I have the ability to come in and talk to, I can't say students, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, yes, you're all students, but I'm gonna interact with you not as students, but as people. None of us are better than the other. I'm probably one of the few people that can actually say I'm not prejudiced against anybody. I hate everybody equally. I mean, you talk to me and you give me respect, I'm gonna go tenfold with you. I'm the guy that'll basically take my damn shirt off if you needed one and give it to you now. 35 years ago, I'd have ripped you off like no tomorrow. But I don't want to call it a revelation. I finally come to light that, you know what, there are good people out here. And doing what I do, if I can help you in any way with what you're looking at doing, always remember, whatever, if you get into law enforcement, you're getting into probation, you know, any of these things here, my biggest key that I put out is when you're dealing with somebody, go in with an open mind. Because nobody in here, and I can say this is a fact, none of you like to be prejudged. Anybody that likes to be prejudged, raise your hand. You want to be able to deal with people, don't go in with that attitude. I got lucky. Sorry, I can't call it what you did. My last PO, actually my last two POs, had a whole different outlook. Yes, my file, when I got out, I had 2 files. It was so damn big. They didn't look at the file and go, yep, he's done. Yeah, they glanced at it, saw all the different things that I've done. Okay, let's see what he's gonna do. I tell people, he gave me I should have said a two-legged stool and 6 feet worth of rope, and says, okay, what are you gonna do? Because when I got out, the first thing I told him is, I'm done. I'm retiring, I'm not doing this shit no more. You guys don't play nice. You're giving out way too much time. I retired in 99. I got out in April 17th of 2000. I got off paper in 2003. His partner gets a phone call from me every April 17th. Another year. I can't go back. You guys know I'm under the third strike rule. If I go back, I don't get a parole date. I get a body bag. A lot of incentive there. That, and I've got it took me 5. The wife I have now is number 5. She's just as ornery as I am, but she takes no crap. And she calls it like it is, and this is the kind of, LeVar will back me on this. This woman will not back down. And she's been by my side the entire time. But it's just something, God, I got lost here for a minute. Sorry, I went someplace. I apologize, but sometimes I get that way. It's not pre-planned or anything, because all you know that I don't write my scripts down or all that crap, because it sounds scripted. It's not real. Be open with people when you're talking with them, but you gotta know where that line is, because convicts have a way of being able to read people, and they can find your weaknesses, but we all have weaknesses. Hell, I've got weaknesses. Again, my biggest thing is just going with an open mind. People make mistakes, right? We've all done bad things. Maybe not as bad, but you've all slipped somewhere. Granted, you haven't been arrested, which is awesome. But you've stepped out of line somewhere, but you caught yourself. There's that saying out there, once a con, always a con. Convicts will never change. 25 years ago, I told the case manager, I'm done. I'm not doing this shit no more. You guys don't play nice. I'm retiring. And I have done everything humanly possible to stay that way. Do I remember what it's like in a joint? Yeah. June 10th, 1985, I'm in the Utah State Prison taking a shot of heroin that buckled my knees. That was the last time I took heroin. Do I remember that shot? Yes, I want to remember that shot. Because where was I? I don't ever want to go back to that. One shot is all it's going to take. My medical file says I'm allergic to any known narcotic. Because if I start again, I lose everything. I lose a beautiful lady who's been by my side for 15 years. I'm gonna get my ass chewed for that. It was an 06 when we met, so that's 18 years. Because she's gonna watch this and I'm gonna get chewed out. It's okay. I love this woman, she'll forgive me. But that, and you guys can't go into this on your own. It's kind of like when I'm dealing with certain people. You guys yourself need a support structure, because he's going to tell you that even when he was doing his job, there was times that he had to go find someone to talk to, and you're gonna run up against this. No matter if you're a cop, whether you're probation, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're gonna run up into this. Okay, y'all know I've done 18 years, right? Full-blown convict. You know what that is? That's a end of watch. That's a correction officer from Colorado She went in to do something right. She was a baker, she decorated cakes. She wanted to go in and teach inmates a career. Like I said, I'm not politically correct. Some pissant decided he wanted to make his bones and killed her. I've had this for how many years now?
I would say probably at least 10 or 12 years.
She died in 2012. 2013, I actually met her daughter. That was the scariest damn thing I've ever had to do. But she was so cool. But no, I carry this with me all over the place. Yeah, there was a time where I hated cops. Cops were worthless pieces of shit, lower than whale scum. Now, I got to respect the world for them because I see what they go through. Yes, there are bad cops. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you guys stories, push the rainbows and unicorn theory. No, everybody's great. There's bad cops. But just because there's some bad cops, is everybody bad? I can play that card with everybody in here. There's bad races, there's bad religions, there's bad this, there's bad that. I don't see any bad in here. I've dealt with all the different ethnic backgrounds, different gangs. When I was in a joint, they always said you had to join a gang. No, you don't. I played pinochle with the Crips, the Bloods, the Aryan Brotherhoods, the Dirty White Boys, the Mexican Mafia, the Texas Syndicate, all of them. They all knew I don't care. When I went to Florence, Colorado, United States Federal Penitentiary, when I got up in the morning, the first thought that went through my mind is today is a good day to die. Convicts knew that if you came at me, I'm not going to hurt you. Because if I hurt you, you can come back at me. You come at me, I'm going to kill you. I don't care. Guards were telling other guards, you screw with him, he just in kill you is to deal with you. He's not going to talk to you, nothing. When they locked up at night, well, shit, made it through that day. Let's see what happens tomorrow. It's that kind of mindset that, here I've got this long beard, bald head. You look into my eyes, there's nothing there. The only reason I'm kind of reiterating this is because I've talked it inside or on the Zoom classes. And this gives you a little better idea. I'm not the littlest guy here. Imagine this walking around a compound and just not giving a shit. I've seen bodies drop. I was on the compound a couple of times and the guard towers started firing rounds and just dropping people. There was a setup, and I'm pretty sure that was a setup in the shoe. There was two islanders that were in the shoe together in the same cell, and the guards thought it would be funny to put a border brother inside the cell with him, with these two, and they left him. I think it was about a couple hours later they finally came back, and there was blood throughout this cell. They had pulled his intestines out and had it hanging from one end of the cell to the other. They had literally taken bites out of this kid's liver. Yeah, it was gross. Like I said, I'm not one to mix words with people. I've seen people bleed out. I had a partner of mine that bled out on my arms. And that'll change your whole outlook on people. I don't care who you are, I don't like you. My brother just died. Was he blood brother? No, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Everybody in here's got someone like that. I mean, this is your go-to. You're having a bad day, this is the person you're gonna talk to. He gets calls from me. He doesn't get as many, because, I go to Eric too. But you gotta have somebody. I'm looking around. I only see about a dozen questions. Who's got one? Trust me, I will point you out.
Do you feel you were rehabilitated while you were in prison?
No. I'm not gonna, the one thing you're not gonna get is I'm not gonna tell you a story. No, inside, no. I played the game. It took me to get out, realize that I had gone as far as I could run this, and that something had to change, or I'm never gonna get out. There needs to be, well, there probably is now more programming to where things can help, but did I get rehabilitated inside? I did get clean on the inside the prison. That part I did do, and that was at the Utah State Prison in Utah.
What was the first time you encountered drugs? Was it at home or on the street, or so you used it at a young age? Where did you encounter that at? Like where did it happen?
My first drug?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it led to?
Do y'all remember what my first drug of choice was?
Kerosene.
Thank you. Give her a star. Not many people remember the little things like that here. Now the first actual drug was pot, and that was at like between 9 and 10, because that's how I dealt with the pain. I get into a little stronger stuff when here I am, 63 years old, quote unquote man, but I'm going to sit here and tell you a story that it took me a lot of years to be able to talk about. When I was between 10 and 11, my older, or as I said in the book, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't give a shit. My older brother, who was basically backed me and was my quote unquote protector, forced me to perform oral sex on him, and made the comment, say anything and I'll take you. Here's a 10-year-old kid trying to deal with being physically abused, mentally abused. How do you deal with being beat with just about anything known in a household? Have your mother chase you out of the house at gunpoint, and the person that is actually there to, lack of a better word, protect you, turns on you. This all happened when I was like 10 and 11. This came out in 15, 16, like 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And I don't know what it was. I had buried this so deep that it was gone. It never happened. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if I was watching a TV show. I wish I could tell you. I really don't remember. And we was at a NOVA conference. We was speaking there, and LeVar got the biggest surprise in life when I told this story at a NOVA conference.
Tell them what NOVA is.
The National Organization for Victims Assistance. They deal with people that's gone through different crimes. I mean, this is an amazing organization, but I've been to 6 of them throughout the country. But it's something that you go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, okay, and they're gonna talk to you about drug use and all that. My problem with these people is they tell you, well, this is what heroin feels like. Really? When did you shoot last? Well, I haven't. I read it. I don't give a shit what you read. You would rather have me walk in here and tell you what it's like inside of a penitentiary from my point of view. LeVar's got his point of view as a corrections officer. I'm going to tell you the bullshit that really went down. Forget about what you watched on TV. That's all horseshit. My go-to movie, if you want to know what it's actually like, is The Shawshank Redemption. I have 2 copies of DVD. I have 2 Blu-rays, a DVD. I watch this thing 5-6 times a year because I don't ever want to forget where I was. There was a time when we were driving truck, I would come up with the perfect scam. This is really going to work. I mean, I've worked on it. We would purposely drive by a penitentiary. Oh shit, that ain't going to work. That's all it took. But as far as the drug goes, okay, yeah, I've been clean for 39 plus years. Do I not worry about it? No. I worry about it all the time. There's times that I have to talk to the wife. I've got all kinds of people on here that I go to because it's like a day to day or an hour to hour. Because I go into a dark area. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You've all been there, haven't you? Let me see the one hand supposedly that hasn't gone to a dark place. Not physically, but up here. And you need somebody to talk to. He's not always available, so I have to find different people. I mean, love this man like he literally was my brother. But I understand that I needed more people. But I deal with drugs all the time. Not as in dealing mentally, I have to work at it. It's not something because you haven't done it for so long, it's no longer a problem. I am a dope fiend. I'm a drug addict. I am not an ex. I have ex-wives, but I'm a drug addict. I'm a dope fiend. I'm a convict. I hate the idea that people, because you're an ex-convict, you're not going to change. You're always going to be always trying to do something. People can change. I'm sitting here in front of you. 24 years out. I am a statistic. You all know that. I should have gone back within 3 to 5 years, right? Should be doing life without right now. I like it out here. I like being able to come in and talk to people. Talk with people. Again, I don't talk to people, I don't talk at you.
Tell them about your experience with Tracy and Bridges to Life.
Oh my God. You guys see how big I am. Tracy is is she gonna be in your book?
She's in the second book.
She's in the second book. This lady came in to tell her story. And I lost it. I was like a 3-year-old that you just stole their ice cream and everything. I mean, the floodgates went open. She told her story, and I think it was her that changed my entire mindset. I didn't do what she went through, but I could see that everything that I've done did not just affect me. She was the one that actually opened that door. And I can get her on the phone. Well, I can get her on Facebook because we still keep in touch. She's the one that helped me, in a sense, see the light. To where, yeah, I'm not the only one that got hurt. I changed thousands of people's lives. I've destroyed thousands of people. Am I glad, happy about that? No. Do I wish I could change everything I've done in the past? 90%, yeah. There's some things that I have done that I have to watch how I put it. That no, I wouldn't change it. There's some things that there was people that are just that evil. But do I do it now? No. Again, I'd give you the spirit off my back. I would rather help you than to attack you. Because what does that actually prove? Well, maybe now I couldn't take maybe one or two people. Doubt it, but 15, 20 years ago, yeah. But now I don't want to fight you. What does that prove? Okay, either I'm stronger or you're stronger. Does that make either one of us any better? No. You have to be able to look inside and see, you know what? There is something good here. For a lot of years, I didn't care. That was my job, to break the law. It's what I did. Part of the time I was pretty good at it, and the other times, well, I kind of sucked at it. Because I ended up in St. Cloud Prison, Utah State Prison, and then Florence, Colorado Federal Penitentiary. So there was a few times where I really sucked at it. But I looked at it as my job. But we need to get, when we're dealing with people, to get them to realize that they're not the only person that got hurt. Once you can accept that, you can get them to accept that, things are going to change. Their whole outlooks, my whole outlook did a 180. He'll vouch for it. I mean, I still had that cocky little part. Yeah, I wasn't going to go back anymore, but there was still that rooster in the background that, you know, you can push me so far and then we're going to talk. But it never got to that point because I finally had realized that I'd crossed that line. I can't go back. When a prosecuting attorney tells you, come back in front of the court one more time. Don't worry about a parole date. Would that not get your attention? Sure the hell got my attention. Come on, don't make me point at somebody. Just got a question.
You tell us more about how you met LeVar.
I met LeVar.
Yeah.
April, let me see, I got out the 17th. April 18th, it was either April 18th or April 19th of 2000. Because I didn't have an address to go to parole out to. I went to a federal halfway house. And I got there, I think I was there a day, and then the following morning, LeVar and his partner came down, Eric Anderson. And they interviewed me, we talked a little bit. I'm the one that told him, hey, you know what, I'm done, I'm retiring. And you could see it in his eyes, but he never said it. We've talked since then many times, but it was, you know what, I've heard this. I don't know, you can't even put a number on how many times you've heard that line. But I actually literally told him, what do I gotta do? I was adamant about it. I'm done. You know, but he didn't, for me, you know, it wasn't like I told him, well, this is what I want to do, so fix it. He didn't work that way. Okay, you want to do this? Well, this is who you need to contact. This is what you need to do. He gave me the give me the word. Tools. Thank you. sometimes it's the little things. He gave me the tools that I needed to use. He wouldn't pick the phone up or anything. That wasn't what he was there to do. He'd give me, you need to go over here to take care of this, but he always listened to me. I don't know if I've told this story in all the classes. He let me to where I could get my CDL on driving truck. I'm in California and I get this phone call from the bar. Where you at? I'm in California. Supposed to be heading back up that way. Don't come to Utah for a little bit. I got to take care of something. There's a warrant out for your arrest. And I'm thinking, okay. And he's probably thinking the same thing. Well, this is either going to work out good or it's going to work out bad. He's either going to bolt or he's going to have faith. Well, that was a two-way road. Okay, is he screwing with me? Or is he actually going to see what he can do? Well, I think it was like the next day, because you took care of that awful damn quick. Calls me up and says, okay, you can come back, you can come to Utah again. Here's what I need you to do. And here we go again, the blind faith. You need to go to the county sheriff's office, you need to turn yourself in. They're going to fingerprint you, they're going to take your mugshot, and they're going to release you. Then you got to go to court, and I had to plead guilty to a car theft, and they gave me time served, I had to pay a fine. But here in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you want me to turn myself in? I got a prosecuting attorney who says, come in front of a court again, and you're going to do life. Okay, well, I rolled the damn dice. I didn't get snake eyes, and I didn't hit 7, so he did exactly what he said he was going to do. So yeah, that was a big trust building thing. I mean, did we go out and have dinner afterwards and shit like that? No, that took probably after I was on parole. But no, we have one of the weirdest relationships out. I mean, we've been told this throughout the country. Here I am, a 3-time losing convict, and and I don't mean this age-wise, my oldest friend is sitting right here. I've known him longer than anybody I deal with. Would I go out to dinner with him? Shit, we did last night. He calls me up and says, hey, I've got a class I need you to talk in. Okay, what time, when, what date? I'll clear my schedule. I'm disabled, I don't work. This is my job. Do I make a lot of money at this? He feeds me, put me in a nice bed and breakfast. It's like doing these books. We didn't write these books. We have one together. I have my own. We didn't do it for the money. Both of us know we're not going to be the next J.K. Rowling's, shit like this. We're not going to make millions of dollars. How long's the book been out? 13 years?
Yeah, 13.
Each one of us between, I don't know how your personal book went, but I've got 2 books that I've co-authored and this one here. In 13 years, I haven't broke $800 royalties yet. Total. That wasn't why we did these books. Our idea was for you. This gives you a different perspective. You can read all kinds of books and things like that there, but our first book, we did it because we wanted to have it both sides of the aisle. LeVar's as the corrections officer and me as a convict. We're not trying to make, both of them look good, but for you to see both sides. and for you to actually get an idea of what he went through as a corrections, because I know his days weren't always that great. Trust me on that. But look where he is now. God, I don't want to stand up and point at somebody. I see the smile. Come on, young lady. Yeah, you've been caught.
I guess I was curious about how you escaped prison.
Oh, I escaped jail. Oh, that's one of my favorite stories. We was in the Salt Lake County Jail, and instead of being in an actual cells, they put us into like a dorm room. There was 20 inmates in this dorm room, and just come to find out there was, I think 3 of us were federal inmates, and one of them was a, lack of a better word, a professional burglar, and there was a utility closet. Well, it was kind of in a blind spot, but it wasn't, and you had 2 dorms, and in the middle was where the officers were, and they could see into both sides. Well, we would wait until they went to go to the other dorm to do like head count or whatever, and he would literally pop that door open. Well, when we got the door open and we looked, there was a ventilation fan. We started thinking, okay, if we take the ventilation fan down, what's going to happen? Well, pull the ventilation fan out far enough to where we could look. 16 feet to our right was a vent that went outside. So here we are. We kept telling them, hey, you need to turn the heat up. It's getting cold in here. That was our running joke. We left because they wouldn't turn the heat up. Well, one night at 10 o'clock count, they came in, they counted us first. They left to go over to do the other one. Our little burglar got up, popped the door. 5 of us pulled this thing down, and we were out. We had to drop about 12 feet to the ground. So you slid out, and then you hung, and then dropped. We were outside. No gates, no fences, no nothing. Me and another inmate, another federal inmate, I won't even say his name. This guy scares the hell out of me. And I'm hoping he's still in Atlanta. He needs to be there. But he went with me, and we did a little panhandling, got enough for bus fare. We went from Salt Lake to Ogden, which is about 45 miles. And I had some friends up there that put us up in a trailer, a camp trailer, and we was probably 3 blocks from the county sheriff's office. And we're watching ourselves on TV. Utah's Most Wanted. Again,
It wasn't just Utah.
no, we was put on the Marshals Most Wanted. There was a shoot to kill order on from the Marshals. We had all, I don't know how big that task force was.
It's pretty big.
I gotta do it. I'm sorry. I love doing this one. Your awesome professor here, his job on the task force was to guard and watch my Rottweiler's doghouse. Now, when I say Rottweiler, I don't mean Rottweiler. Roscoe was 210-pound English Rottweiler. Massive animal. And he thought I was going to come back and get the dogs. Hell, I didn't even come back to try to get my wife. And I'm going to say this with all, due respect and all this, I wouldn't have gone back for that bitch for nothing. She testified against me in court. That's cold, ain't bro? When the woman you marry comes into court and says, no, this, oh shit, what do I need to have anything to do with her? Yeah, he had to guard and watch out for my Make sure
I
my
didn't
dogs
get-
are
I
okay.
did not get real close to that dog.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't, they asked me to watch the backyard.
I used to throw T-bones at this dog and listen to him shatter them. Yeah, go ahead. You're the right size for a bar. You're a play toy. That help?
Well, how long, so it didn't take long?
Oh, it didn't take long, but it only took us 10 days to get caught, but come to find out, you don't rob a bank in Bellevue, Washington, because holy shit, they like their money. Within 5 minutes, I had city police, I had county sheriffs, and I had state patrol, and there was probably feds involved there somewhere in this high-speed pursuit. And it lasted about 10 or 15 minutes. I was having a ball. But it ended up not very well, but went to court, had to do what they call a Rule 20, which means we're gonna plead guilty to the bank robbery and we're gonna plead guilty to the escape because we're gonna do it here in Washington because we don't wanna go back to Utah because them marshals are pissed. We were under their jurisdiction and we left. I tried to get with the marshals when I was out there the last time with Eric, and they weren't having it. All I was gonna do was go down and tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I was an asshole. You know, I made your life miserable. No, they were still not talking to me, and that was 96. So we're coming up on what, 30 years?
And it's all new people too.
They still don't wanna talk to me. None of them. Don't make me, oh, okay, thank you.
You were talking about earlier back in '99 when you say you retired. What kind of made you flip that that switch, or what made you realize that that was it, that you were done?
You're on a compound with 1,200 inmates, okay? They're not always on the compound at one time, but you're looking around this compound and you're seeing kids, and I mean that heartily, kids, 18-year-olds on up to 70-plus-year-olds. I literally watched a few of them parole out and come back. And I'm looking at this going, shit, there has got to be a better life out there than this. I mean, one guy that came in, I think he was either 18 or 19 years old. He had 2 life terms and 240 years, running back to back to back. 18 or 19 years old. He came in. He was Casper. That's what he went by. Big, tough, snot-nosed kid. He was going to be a big-time convict. Casper. Nice kid. 10 days later, he was known as Bambi. They turned this kid to a bitch within 10 days. But he was going to be this badass convict. No, there's some badass convicts inside there. You just got to know how to deal with them. It's just like out here. You're not going to go and try to deal with somebody that you've got a gut feeling that there's a problem. Are you going to throw your life away over something stupid? You're not going to do it. When you're inside, you do stupid shit like that. You know, it's like I said, how I walked around the joint. I didn't care. But I dealt with everybody equally. I don't see color, okay? I don't see ethnic backgrounds, none of that shit. You take a pen and I'll take a pen. Prick your finger. What color is it gonna be? It's all gonna be red. We all bleed red, right? Everybody's got their own different beliefs. Just because you don't line with mine, does that mean you're a bad person? Have an open mind. That's the problem with that country they call DC. These assholes couldn't find their head in a room full of mirrors. But we're all the same in a way.
Do you think that was part of your recognition to live on the streets, was the fact that, you know, I gotta live with these people, so I gotta learn to understand
You
them.
gotta learn to understand them, you gotta learn how to talk with them, how to deal with them. I mean, cause not all of them were all, you know, friendly and shit. But if you treat them with respect, it's the same thing inside. The slightest little bit of disrespect can get you killed. You look wrong at somebody, you could be in a bag. I look the same way at everybody, and they all realize that I'm not looking at anybody differently, I just don't like anybody. I had one person I trusted, and it was me. I dealt with a lot of people, but just because you're inside, God, I hate that saying. Oh, you gotta join a gang to survive in a joint. I was in gang 10180023. That was my federal prison number. I ran with me. Did I hang out with a lot of different people? Shit. Some of the best pinochle games I played was with Crips and Bloods. Then there was the Aryan Brotherhood and the Dirty White Boys. I didn't care. Your commissary coming to me worked for, it didn't matter who it was. There was times I had to pay commissary to people, but I'm not gonna say I never lost. Cause y'all can sit there and go, oh, bullshit. So I'm not gonna try to tell you that story. But I don't care who you are, what your background is, you know. You talk with me with respect, I'm gonna give it right back at you and then some. I don't believe nobody in here is that far gone. And I'm not saying that there's people in here that have problems, because in a weird way, we do. It might be a mindset. You're not convicts. You're all great people. But we all need somebody to talk with, right? Who doesn't have someone to talk that they can go to? God, look at all them hands. Everybody's got something they go to. That's your key. Whatever you go in, whatever field you go into, again, going with an open mind. You're not better. Yeah, you haven't broke the law or anything, but when you're talking with them, don't put yourself up on a pedestal. Do you like having somebody talk to you like they're on a pedestal? I know I sure the hell hate it. I want to try to figure out a way to knock them off of some bitch. But, you know, you talk with people the same way I'm talking with you guys right now. It's amazing what you're going to be able to do. Yeah, go ahead.
82% of offenders reoffend first time. Do you think it's because a lot of these offenders don't accept responsibility for what they did, and they just keep blaming the system, they keep going back in because of it?
Yeah, it's not their fault.
They just
No.
can't accept it. Yeah.
This is their mindset. It's not my fault. You're the one that keeps sending me back, prick. I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job. I'm surprised it's 82%.
I just looked up.
No, I thought it was actually just a little, not much higher, but in the upper 80s.
I mean, the states are different in their recidivism, but that's probably.
It's high.
That's a good average.
Like I said, I should have been back within 3 to 5 years, doing life without.
Do you mind telling them just real quickly about your experience when you went to the boys' was it the boys' ranch where?
Oh yeah.
the abuse
Sorry,
continued?
I forgot about that.
And this story is really good because it shows that if our system is not working, if we don't have the right people in the system, they just continue to perpetuate the things that brought him to the system. So share with them kind of what happened.
Okay, now, granted, I was a brawler growing up, got in a bunch of fights, ended up going to the University of Minnesota Child Psychiatry Unit. Went in there for fighting, got told I was a pyromaniac. Was still getting abused at home, physically and mentally. Then my brother molests me. Then I get sent to the Barnum Boys Ranch. Now, how I looked at it, it was a modified school. I learned how to do macrame, ride horses, and not trust anybody. Now, here they have counselors there that are supposed to help you. Well, he helped me all right. It wasn't until LeVar and I got together and we started talking about different things that I realized what he was doing to me at the age of 11. I was being groomed. And this counselor kept what my brother did to continue. He molested me while I was at this, not a group home, but the boys' ranch. And they're there supposedly to help you. Well, now looking back, yeah, he kind of helped himself. I don't remember why that all of a sudden he wasn't there. I can assume a lot of things, but I hate doing that. He might have got caught. There's all kinds of weird shit. But we need to do something with the system. Anybody in here disagree that the system's not broke? Is our current system totally frickin' trashed? Anybody? Broken. Can we fix it all the way? No. Can you do a small part? He got me. Yeah, he's trying to do his part. I'm trying to do my part. By me coming in here and talking with you, I'm trying to, lack of a better word, give you incentive to do what you can do. I'm not going to sit here and expect everybody in here to be able to change the system overnight. When I go in to do talks.
Go ahead and finish, and I have a question for you.
Okay. When I go in to do talks, my goal when I walk into a room, whether there's 10 people or I've had as many at one of the NOVA classes or the NOVA's things that we did was 300 to 500. If I can get one, if I can touch one person, not physically, if I can touch their life and change their life, I've done something. Last year, he's still clean. I went to a drug court. His partner had me come in and actually talk to these guys while they're in the courtroom. Did like a 5-minute thing there, was talking to these convicts. There was one kid in there that could not pass a UA. Was dirty every damn time. Since I talked to him, he has not pissed a dirty. To this day. He's got his CDL. He's totally turned around. Did I get all 6 of these guys? No. I'll take that one. When Eric called me and told me, it was a few months later, that he hasn't caught, pissed dirty yet, that was just, give him the lottery. That was big for me. And I talked to him last week, and he's clean, sober, the whole 9 yards, is walking the line. I might have been that much of that cure. I will take that much. That's what you want to look for. No, I can't turn this person completely around. But if you guys take 2 to 3% and it makes a difference in your life, you've made my day. This is why I do what I do.
So the question that this kind of is a question about these ladies and gentlemen instead of students. But, you know, they're young, they're impressionable, they're at ages where a lot of different things can happen in their lives. What advice would you give them with respect to staying on that pathway of succeeding in their life, being whatever they want to be? Because there's a lot of challenges
Oh,
that
you guys are
we
gonna,
face out there.
trust me, you're gonna come into challenges. You know it as well. I'm not gonna bullshit you. You guys are smarter than that. Biggest thing you need to be able to do is if you do, you know, lack of a better word, step out of line, own it, take responsibility. You know how much cred that's gonna give you in whatever you do in life. People who look up to you. I slipped, I did this, or whatever. There's way too many scenarios. But if you accept what you've done and take responsibility for it, people are gonna look at you differently and not in a bad way. Hang on, if they can admit that they've done something wrong, why can't I? People are gonna look at you a little differently, and it's gonna be in a good way. But you've gotta be able to dig down inside. And for me to sit here and tell you it's a piece of cake, I'm not gonna be Pinocchio and have my nose grow to the back of the room. It's not easy. But you can do it.
So you have a lot of, you know, folks in here that either have experienced it themselves or they have family members who have experienced trauma or abuse or things that you're talking about. And how do you, what advice would you give them as they battle some of those different challenges? Because you've had to battle those.
Oh, I battled a lot of
And
them.
you still battle them every day, but what suggestions would you give them?
My key, my go-to, you guys hear it every time I talk. It's something that I push really hard. Is you've got to have a support structure. Because we all go through things. You guys have heard about the abuse that I went through as a kid. I had to be the one to actually say, okay, well, I didn't tell her personally, but I had to forgive the woman who abused the shit out of me. People are gonna do bad things, we all know it. Try to talk with them. Not everybody's bad. You guys aren't bad. God, there must be a class coming up.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like I said, I'm here all day.
What's the differences you notice between, I'm sorry to cut you off, Tiffany.
No.
And feel free, if you guys have classes or need to go, that's fine.
I'm not gonna take it the wrong way.
What's the differences you notice between the state penitentiary and the federal penitentiary?
I would do 10 years in a state penitentiary before I did a year in feds.
They are more hard, like, you notice more fights and stuff in federal or state?
Federal doesn't, there's no half stepping.
Hey, before they all leave, we want to give you
Well, it's probably changed now. I had more access to things in the state, drugs, whatever. I had better access than in the feds. Hopefully, I'm trying to be optimistic that, you know, that's changed. That, not that it's, you can get things in bulk, that they've actually started doing things differently. But I thought state was better. I'd do time in a state. Would I do time now? Hell no. I like it out here. Y'all are great looking people. Go, there's some ugly bastards inside. I like what I see out here. And no, I don't switch tanks. I like indoor plumbing, not outdoor plumbing. I'm in the old generation. I grew up where there was two genders. You were either male or female, period. I don't care. I don't believe in this pronoun shit. I'm me. Sorry, that's just who I am.
But I will say he respects everybody.
Oh, yeah,
And that's the thing that I've always appreciated about him is the fact that he is not judgmental, but that's just his philosophy. But the way you treat people is pretty amazing.
Pittsburgh hat. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Give me a question. Yeah, there's one rolling around in there. I know there is. And again, nothing's off limits.
You got the ball rolling, square ball rolling here. So you said you stopped using in prison.
Right.
How hard was that?
That was tough. I'm not gonna bullshit you and tell you it was a piece of cake. I Jones for probably a week and a half. When I got locked up the last in Utah, before I went in, I would be doing anywhere between a 7 to a 2 week run on meth. And I knew I had a problem, in a sense, when the cop calls me up, he wants to talk to me about a burglary, and I tell him, sure, I'll come down and talk to you. And I sat there in the living room and I shot up about 4 tabs of speed. And I walked out to the car and it didn't hit me yet, so I shot 3 or 4 more. Then I drove about 15 minutes down the road to the cop shop, sat in the parking lot and fired up a 3rd time. And then walked in looking for this cop that had the audacity, he wanted to talk to me. So we talked for a while and he walked out and wanted to look at my car, and I was proud of my car. And here on the passenger seat was a couple of tie-off bands, a couple of syringes, and probably a little over 100 hits of speed. He says, what's that? And I says, it's mine, leave it alone, I paid for it, it belongs to me. Y'all know what the next line was, don't you? Yeah, I know, I've got the right to remain silent, I just don't have the capability to.
Do you think leading your drug use stopping in prison led you stop using drugs at the outside? Do you think that's what led you stop using outside too?
That and looking around inside the compound I was on in the state, again, you're looking at 18 to 80-year-old dope fiends. Do I want to end up like this? Yeah. I literally saw zombies inside. They were so far gone. God, life's got to be better than this. If anyone wants one, I have new cards that has email, all that good shit. Feel free. If you want a book, I've got them here. Granted, if you go online and look at it, Kendall Hunt wants $39 for this book, but wait, there's more. You have to pay the sales tax. There's a little more. You have to pay for shipping. So that $39 book's a hell of a lot more. And I literally, somebody's not happy about it, but I actually had to buy these books, personally. I wrote the damn thing, and I had to pay for them, because I wanted to bring them here. Is it a bad thing to do? Don't think so. Man, I've got an awesome wife because she found all kinds of ways for him to be paid. She's got Venmo and she's got this and that and holy shit, I don't know how half that shit works. But she does, which thank God. Who else?
So, like, obviously, I know when you're, like, I don't want to say a convict, but I know when you're going through hard times in your life that, like, stronger drugs aren't as scary as they would be to, like, the average person. But what, like, allowed you to move on from weed to things like meth?
Meth and heroin. Weed wasn't doing it. I needed something stronger.
I have a controversial question for you.
No. Again, let's talk.
Do you think, like I'm saying, in your opinion, because of like the things you had went through, do you believe that weed is a gateway?
That could go several ways. I've got a son that's, in a sense, on weed right now. But I'm giving him a pass. He was a drug dealer in Wyoming, and somebody wanted his turf. And they shot him right here with a 20 gauge shotgun. He's seen the pictures. I will not show you the pictures. It's nasty. Took a blast from 15 feet away. He bent down and then stood back up. The kid that pulled the trigger, they said all of his blood came out of his body. He just turned white as a ghost and took off. He should have been dead. That's how he medicates. I can't say anything to him. How am I going to tell him, hey, using drugs is bad? Shit, you done a hell of a lot worse than I have. Well, true, but I know better. Yeah, right. I can't do that. In one way, yeah, it could be considered a gateway, but then again, wouldn't alcohol be in the same category? How about prescription pills? You can get those legally, can't you? Couldn't that also be a gateway? I mean, I like what you're saying. Don't come at something. You're looking at a problem, okay? How many different ways can you look at it? That's the key. Don't go in there blinded. There's one answer. Is pot a gateway? You're not buying the theory that because the book says this is the gateway, or there's people that say this is the gateway. You want to take it and blow it out of proportion in a good way, okay? Not saying what you're doing is wrong. I like how you're thinking. You want to look at it in a lot of different ways. Well, if this isn't the gateway, then what could be? I like what you're doing. Maybe I'll write another book, but I'll let you take credit for that. But no, as far as a real specific gateway, I don't think there is one. Because we probably all, maybe not all, but you probably know somebody or know somebody that started with, like fentanyl. They never did anything. And then all of a sudden, the peer pressure or whatever, they started here. Is there a quote-unquote gateway? I don't believe there is. Because hell, look what I started with. I started with kerosene. I've never seen that on any of the drugs. But it was a drug to me. Did that work?
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
I'm sorry, couldn't we argue then that trauma is more of a gateway to illicit drug use than starting with cannabis or kerosene?
Now you're thinking. We're looking at this, okay? This is all you have. This is the only problem. No, it's not. You're going outside that box. That's what I commend you two on. probably the rest of you too, but look outside of the quote-unquote norm. Because who's to say that you're not going to find a different perspective? You've probably seen it, both of you have probably seen it from several different directions, right? The gateway, have you seen it in several different directions? It's not just pot.
In my experiences, like that I've witnessed in my life, that's where it started.
Okay,
But that's why I wanted to ask you, because your starting point was a little bit different. I just wanted to hear your opinion.
but go at it that way, okay? Don't go at it, it's not just one drug that's the gateway. Because I know guys that started on coke. I know guys that started, first time they did drugs, it was heroin. Everybody's got their own, but you don't want to go with that theory that this is the gateway. And like you said, trauma. Why did I start doing drugs?
To cope with trauma.
Cope with trauma. See, I like what you're thinking. You got some good students here. I like this group.
Well, I mean, you know, some drugs help people numb and others don't, you know.
Other ones turn it into a 180. It's not helping you, it's making you even worse.
I mean, like you said, I've seen more addictions start from prescription drugs than marijuana. And that's another gateway, if you want to call it a gateway. So I like what Eric's telling you, that your gateway is actually created by you. And if you're not taking care of these issues in the correct way, then the gateway takes over, whether it's marijuana or prescriptions or alcohol or getting in fights or getting in trouble. It doesn't matter. I mean, it all stems from your social disorganization. You're disorganized, and so people get disorganized, start looking for ways of relief. And so if you don't help him capitalize on that, so he goes into a treatment facility, and what happens? He gets abused again. So he's only thinking, the only way I'm really getting my relief is through my drugs. It's not going to counseling because my counselor's abusing me. It's not going to my family because my family abuses me. So I end up, you know, living this life of, you know, taking that trauma and burying it deep. They call it dissociative amnesia, where they disassociate from the trauma. And the way they do that is they use drugs and they use other, you know, means to do that. And that's what Eric did for many years, until one day he wakes up in a prison cell and looks at his colleagues out there that are 70 years old and going, I don't think I want to do that. And that's why, you know, that's one of the great reasons I like Eric to talk, is that, especially to you young people, is that you guys are challenged more than we were challenged. I feel, I mean, personally, that I look at my high school years and the things I was up against, and, you know, it's nothing compared to, in my opinion, what you guys put up with. And then you also have to put up with the trauma part too. So you got a lot of challenges that are facing you. And so making good choices is a choice. And sometimes you have to, like Eric, you know, he can call me all day long if I'm available, but there's sometimes I'm not. So he has to find the sources that helps him when he's feeling that, and when he is trying to deal with that trauma. So I hate the term gateway drug, because there's so many gateways. Does that make sense?
Do you remember your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
If this is too personal, stop me. Me and
Oh,
LeVar,
you don't ask personal questions. Yeah.
me and LeVar were talking
Dude.
about someone in.
Read the book and then ask me if there's something too personal.
We were talking.
He is reading the book, that's in his class.
Okay.
We were talking about it, but why do you think your dad didn't step in to when it
He was
going
old
on?
school.
Do you think he knew what was going on or anything? He kind of just let it be?
I'm willing to bet he knew more than what we thought, but he was brought up in a time where you kept the family together, you didn't rock the boat. He knew she was batshit crazy. Okay, she tried suicide 12 times. She told us about the last one, and we says, hang on, time out. Give us a little bit. We know where to get some really good drugs that'll make sure you do this one more time. And then she stopped playing that suicide card. But he, lack of a better word, turned a blind eye. He didn't want to ruffle her feathers. Could he have stepped in and done something? In a heartbeat. Retired Navy SEAL. His only fear was fear itself. But he was old school.
Did you ever tell your dad about everything?
Oh,
Did
no.
you talk to him, or
No.
did you talk to him?
I grew up in a time where you didn't talk about it. If I would have told somebody at school, somebody like a counselor at school, they'd have turned around and told her, Broomhilda would have found something else to beat my ass with, and it'd have been worse. Don't talk here, don't talk here. Mum's the word.
But tell him who it was that was holding your mom's hand when she passed away.
The one that took all the shit. The one that had a letter sent to the prosecuting attorney stating, lock him up so he can't get out. Somebody's going to get hurt. My older brother, oh by God, he could walk on water. Big ass dope fiend. Dealt all kinds of drugs, but I'm the problem. He robbed her blind. I'm there with my wife now at her last minute. Who's the one person that should have been 14 states away? And I'm sitting there holding her hand as she went home.
You remember the phone call you made to me? It's one of the few times I've ever heard her get emotional. You were emotional.
Oh, there was a couple of them that I did. I did call you that day, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, right there.
Remember,
was-
this is my parole officer.
It was right. It was really then that I realized that Eric had made a full circle. That he had realized that he can't hold grudges. That he has to move forward. That his life is really built on his ability to look through all the problems he's had and still find that pathway to succeed. And to take, which was the big, in my opinion, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest obstacle, the person you trust the most is your parent and the way she treated him. And then I talked to her several times, and she, when he got out of prison, and this was when he got out the last time, and his mom said to me, she goes, exactly what Eric said, but a little bit more than what Eric said. She says, I'm afraid that he will hurt me and kill me. And I asked her the question, I said, so why are you so concerned about that? And of course, do you think she wanted to discuss it? She goes, just take my word for it. I remember that. And, but she goes, get a protective order against him. Tell him not to come to my house and do all this. And I said, ma'am, I'm gonna ask him to stay away from your house. I think that's all I need to do. And he did, he honored that. But then all of a sudden didn't she start reaching out? It seemed like
She reached out to me, and then shortly after I got with Denise, I was lower in whale shit again, because I was paying all their bills, because I was on the road driving trucks, so she was taking care of my finances too, but come to find out I was taking care of all of her finances also. And when Denise found out about it, well, the Bank of Wicklund got closed, and she put a a repossession on the building and, you know, do not enter and all this good shit. And oh, now I'm the bad guy again for a little bit. And then she came back around. And yeah, it was Denise and I that were there at the day she passed.
And no, not any of your siblings were there, nobody else was there.
No. He was probably pilfering through her stuff. And to this day, I haven't talked to that piece of shit. This is how bad he was. This is the guy that she thought was awesome. You were out here somewhere. He got a hold of me. No, you'll catch this in a second because I know Eric told you about it. My brother got a hold of me because he had a problem. He needed something solved. You know, once he told me what this problem was and what he wanted me to do, I turned around and I called Eric. I says, "This asshole."
He was your PO at the
He
time.
was my PO at the time. I called Eric and says, "This asshole wants me to set a contract up to take this guy out. He wants me to set up a hit. And you expect me to deal with you?" It got to the point where, well, he got inside information or whatever the hell it was. I don't care. I haven't talked to him in I don't know how many years. The next time I see him, I want a certified death certificate delivered to my house. I will not go before, because I've had that card played. He's dying, he's not gonna make it through the weekend, and I dropped everything from my job and drove from Nebraska to Utah to be there with him, and he's sitting up in a hospital bed just laughing and giggling like nothing ever happened. It's right then, you know what, piss on you, you die, I want proof. I will not come back until then.
One of the things that Eric had to do is he had to set up boundaries, you know, and if it was toxic to him, he'd set the boundary up. And that's one thing I've always been impressed about with Eric, is he knew how to set his boundaries. So it sounds harsh sometimes because it might even be family members that people need to put their boundaries up for. But you don't have to associate with toxicity. And you can be your own person, and that's what Eric has chosen to be. So I remember when he went back to be there with his mom, you know, during the last part of her life. And I said, "Is that okay?" I wanted him to, and he goes, "Yep." He goes, "I know where I'm at, and I know what I need to do," and he went and did it. So it becomes people who succeed, it becomes a choice of understanding that sometimes you need to set the boundaries and you need to take control. Because that's one of the biggest problems with people that are in trouble with the law, is they let everybody dictate to them how to be, like their buddies, their drug buddies, their, you know, crime buddies, whoever, and they will completely control them, and they'll get right back into it. And so they have to learn that. And so when Eric got out and he said that to me, you know, obviously I've heard that hundreds of times.
God
over
knows how many times.
27 years I heard it. And I said, you know, I'm kind of one of those that, you know, don't just say it, do it.
He's been to Missouri a couple of times. All right, show me. My God, it's been 24 years and I'm still showing him.
There's a young man that he was a drug dealer, but he was also a big time Tongan Crip gang, and he was in for homicide. He killed a guy, and I said to him, I go, Howard, and this is my consulting work I do. Some attorneys will call me and say, can you help him understand accountability, because I want him to plead guilty on this case, and so I'll go in and I'll talk to him and give the attorneys advice. And this kid was saying, how would I ever show this family I'm sorry for what I did? And I says, I don't know, maybe you gotta think about that. I can't give you the answer to that. And after it probably was a half hour or so, he just said, by the way, I lived my life. And I said, that's the only way you could show him, probably. And that was about 15 years ago. And he was young, he was 17 when he committed the crime. He was certified as an adult, and I just heard back from him, and he's actually, the family that he killed the young man, that family has helped him in his education. Because he sent them that letter and said, the only way I can show you, he never said I'm sorry. He said, the only way I can show you that this was all my mistake is by the way I lived my life. And so I'm committing to you of changing my life. 15 years later, they're paying for his education. He got married, he has children. They actually associate with this guy that killed their son. And it's all in the mindset. You make your mind up that you want to be a certain way. I never changed Eric. Eric changed himself. Eric made that choice long before I came in the picture. But I was just there to support his efforts in doing what he wanted to do. You can't change people. Like somebody, used the word tool. Obviously that's our job, is to provide tools, to provide ways of using your tools, but you're the one that makes the choice. And that's the biggest struggle that we in the system have, is that we keep trying to force people to change. We think if I send a guy to prison for 50 years, he's gonna change his life when he gets out. Some of them need to go to jail.
Well, yeah, he probably changed his life.
I was real grateful when Eric got locked up after he escaped. I mean, I didn't really know him then, but there was an accountability there. You got to be accountable. And it's real important for them. And I was not an easy PO. I made them toe the line, but when they did what they needed to do and they were being successful, I was right there to pat them on the back and say, keep it going. So it's all in your mindset. So, those of you that are interested in working in the field and working with probation and parole and corrections, I mean, you have to have that mindset that you're not out there to change people. And that you're not out there to control people. You help them to learn to control themselves. And that's the only way you can do it. I mean, that's my opinion. But any other questions that you guys have, or comments?
Yeah, I know you got one.
This is very off topic, but what are some of the worst things you've seen in prison? You talked about the two guys in the hole that were in the shoe together. Have you seen anything that was really impactful to you?
Like a head rolling down the tier. The body was on the other end. They had decapitated this kid and rolled his head down the tier. I watched the head go by myself. If that don't get your attention, nothing will. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen bodies getting stabbed. Different fights. I've seen a lot of horrible crap, but I've just had to learn to figure that's not my way of life. At one point, yes, that was my way of life. That was survival mode. Remember I said I'd get up in the morning and the first thought went through my head is, today's a good day to die? That wasn't just a theory. That was my life. You come at me, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm gonna snap your neck, I'm gonna grab whatever I have to end your life. There was no good or bad. I didn't care. Now, again, I can't tell you the amount of people that we've ran across that hadn't eaten a day or two. And by golly, they eat that day. We've had neighbors in Nebraska that he made the fatal mistake of telling my wife that, well, he just got paid and he got all of his bills paid, but he didn't have enough for groceries. And I went, boy, you done screwed up now. 10 minutes later, she came out with 5 grocery bags of food and handed it to him, and I told him, don't ever say that again. If you get to that point, you come over and just talk to us. You know, I'm sorry, you're not gonna go hungry around us. Shit, look at me. Am I going hungry? I eat fairly well. But no, we help where we can.
You know, he said earlier, he's talking about rehabilitation. Somebody asked a question about rehabilitation in prison and the fact that rehabilitation is, it's an overused word, obviously. But, you know, obviously there's programs, or we would do Bridges to Life in the SCI Fayette. We wouldn't do that if we didn't think it impacted their lives, but it's a different approach, and that's what Eric helped me start in Utah. But that program really helps the offender to understand the impact that their behaviors had on people's lives and to accept that accountability. And so, you know, you see a lot of changes when you start recognizing that your behavior is impacting not everyone around you. I mean, you look at your own lives and your families and the impact that you have on your family, either good or bad, but you have impact. And that's what you have to teach these men and women that are in trouble, is that you've got to be accountable. You've got to understand that every decision you make will impact your life. I had a parolee one time said to me, I don't understand parole, it doesn't make sense, I got all these rules. Yeah, look at you, you don't have any rules. I said, excuse me? I said, what happens if I go and decide I'm gonna take a Bahama vacation by myself for a month and not tell my wife where I'm at? Do you think I'm gonna suffer some consequence for that?
Yes, he will. I
Do
know
you
his
think
wife.
that if I don't pay my taxes or I don't pay my bills, that I'm not gonna get booted out of my house, and if I don't pay my taxes, I'll end up in prison? I mean, I have to be accountable every day just like you. My accountability is different than yours, but we're all accountable. So don't even start that bullshit with me, because we're all accountable. I just think accountability is the bigger word than rehabilitation. It's accountability. Being accountable for your trauma. If you've been traumatized, you be accountable for it. It's not your fault you were experiencing the trauma, but you're accountable for it because if it impacts your behavior. And Eric and I've had this conversation so many times about accountability. The person I've seen that's been impacted the most by accountability is that man right there. When he went through that Bridges to Life program and sat there and listened to those, you know, victims tell their stories. I mean, every day he'd just come out of there shaking. He goes, I can't believe that they're here telling their story. The woman that he's talking about, she had a 1% chance of living because her husband burned her to death, tried to burn her to death. And when she wouldn't burn,
that was at the end.
yeah, and when she wouldn't burn, he was clubbing her with a hammer in the head. He hit her with a claw hammer in the head 3 or 4 times at full force, and then lit her up twice. Burned 70-80% of her
70 to
body.
80%, yeah.
She had a 1% chance of living, and that woman's walking around today. I'm trying to get her next year to come and speak during Victims Week, but she has gone through hell. Who did she relate to in Bridges to Life? That guy.
If you get her out here, I wanna know. Cause I'll drop whatever the hell I'm doing, and I'll be here.
She's a respiratory therapist now. She's an amazing woman, but and she tells me all the time that her biggest impact in that program, because victims are in there too, is when she sat with the inmates and heard their stories and heard what they had been through. And several of you have been in the program, you know what I'm talking about. Any other questions that you guys have?
So I understand your mentality of prison was like a survival thing. Do you think you would have been able to be rehabilitated in prison if you were to change that mentality and go on like you could, like recover?
If I would have had a different mindset, there's a possibility. I'm not gonna sit here and try to spin something that I really don't know, but if you think about it for a little bit, yeah, there probably was that chance that if I'd have had a different mindset, instead of, I don't care what happens to me, maybe I should care what happens to me and what can I do to change that. If I'd have had that at an earlier time, maybe things would have came out totally different. But you've got to have the opportunity. Does that help?
Yeah.
Young lady? Yeah, I'm talking.
I'm just trying to think of how to word it.
Oh, okay.
So we talk about rehabilitation, we talk about recidivism, taking accountability. What do you think would help inmates, okay, that are in prison? What's gonna help them the most?
My opinion?
Yeah, what can we do to help
You're
them?
probably not, at first, you're not gonna like it, but you'll come around, trust me. They need to start before they go in. Because how many times have people, you've read about, they go to court and they're in and out of court in like 30 minutes, and they're sentenced to prison. They need to stop and try to figure out what got them to where they're at right now. Why are they in front of this court? What happened to lead them to where they are now? Nobody has taken the time. What if somebody would have actually stopped and tried to figure out what I was going through? You'd want to think that there might have been a different outcome. They need to take more time and just, okay, this is what he did, this is how much time he has to do, go. We need to look at a bigger picture.
All right, you say they, but who's they?
The prosecuting, the different probation, there's all kinds of counselors and things like that in the system. Pre-trial and all this. I'm not putting it all on them, okay? God, they've got enough on their plate, but I think they need to, lack of a better word, litigate out. They need to get more people that do different things. I mean, yeah, parole does one thing and the prosecutor does this, and but there's got to be something that we can put into the system to where, say, your job, all you want to know is, why is he here now? What happened in his past to put him where he is now?
So are you saying confronting the offender and helping them to,
Come at the offender.
like, talking
Why
about?
are you in my court right now? I don't want to know the charge. Okay, forget about the charge. I had a murder too. Did that make me a real bad person? Well, in some eyes yes, in other eyes no. I was in a bad situation before. Now, if they would have worked on that and saw that and tried to do something about that, maybe I'd have never met this man. But again, who's to say what the right answer is?
Would you say that we're talking about an idea that our system keeps looking at trying to fix the problem, or the symptom and not the cure, that we're looking at the wrong thing? Because I think once they get to prison, I think we lose it. We don't, because that's why, you know, we're running this program. And you work in probation, right?
Yeah, I'm a parole agent inside the institution.
Okay.
How does that work?
And why run the reentry program?
Which
okay,
one do you?
At Mercer.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've paroled a lot of guys because I used to be an institutional agent. And then when we opened the reentry office, I transferred to there. And I paroled a lot of guys, and I've seen a lot of those guys come back, you know, and I ask them, you know, why? You know, you had a good support system. You had a job when you left. You know, you went back to school. I'm like, how did this happen? It all comes down to choice.
Yeah.
You know, but how do we get these people to make the right choices so recidivism isn't so high?
Have you heard of the Bridges to Life that we're running inside Mercer?
We don't have that
Oh, you're at Mercer?
at Mercer.
We ran it before the pandemic,
Uh-huh.
and then after, when the pandemic obviously shut us down. And so we started to do it, now we do it SCI Fayette.
Okay.
If you wanna get with me, maybe you could make a visit one time to Fayette and watch this program.
I was just there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, because what we do in this program, it's much different than the other programs I've seen. I mean, they have the day of responsibility and they have,
Right.
you know, victim impact opportunities, but this is 14 weeks. And the survivors and volunteers, Lexi's one of the volunteers, and Owen is, who else do we have in? Just you two.
Lucas
But-
was here. Lucas
Yeah,
is in.
but they're volunteers in the program, but and Eric went through the program, but the program is about the victims telling their stories and then talking about issues of accountability, responsibility, those kinds of things. And we can talk later, but we've seen recidivism rate like go through the floor. It changes, and it's been going for 20 years. Started in Texas, and there's now over 100,000 inmates that have gone through the program. But it's a very powerful example of how you help people in prison to start to recognize that it's not just their lives that are impacted by going to prison, that their families.
Sure, it's a
Yeah.
ripple effect.
Right, and
Yeah.
the program's really good because they have to write letters to their family.
Sure.
And so it's really a great program, but you're right on that we see this, you know, this revolving door syndrome, and I really want our students here to understand that if you're gonna be in the system, be one that facilitates the change in a person to be able to lead them to the water, but allowing them to drink their water. And the way we do that is by holding them accountable. But it's a different accountability than incarceration. It's a mental accountability and understanding the impact they've had in people's lives and that sort of thing. And
I do have victims come in and speak, and that seems to be a huge.
Oh, that just blew me away when I first got the opportunity. I mean, like I said, that was when the actual change happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still going, I mean, I was out and I didn't want, you know, my plan was I wasn't gonna go back, but I still had that little bit of a mindset that, well, I was the one that was going to prison. It was only hurting me. And then I went and I got involved with this program. And that's when we did a 180. Okay, yeah, I'm the one doing the crime, but how many people did this affect by me doing this crime? I didn't see that part until I had the opportunity to go and witness this and hear. Like I said, when I heard Tracy, I was a blubbering idiot. 6'2", 280 pounds. I mean, and I'm like a little 3-year-old that you just stole their candy.
Well, the ones that really have a problem, and I'm sure you understand this, that, and a lot of our students, we've had discussions about this, that drug addicts or drug dealers, they don't think they have victims. They go, what are you talking about? And
Right.
that person made a
That was
choice
me.
to do drugs, and
Yep.
and that's one of the big problems is because we have so much drugs in our communities and in prison
Yeah.
that they don't see it. They're so numbed by the drugs and the money and the life of drugs that,
That's their addiction,
yeah,
is the lifestyle.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you hit it dead on there.
We were talking about, and we just started beginning mediation on, I think that's juvenile justice,
Yeah.
right? I just want to know your opinion. Do you think that's a good way that the criminal justice system should go towards to restore justice? Do you think it's
To go at the juveniles?
like just in general with all?
No.
Mediation, have it sitting down and
Do you think we need to go to
holding the
that more?
offenders accountable.
Yeah, because Laura said we're starting to use it more and we're noticing crime go down. Do you think it'd be a better thing to transition to?
I'm still looking for there's not gonna be,
Right.
you're not gonna disagree with this one here. There's not gonna be a perfect way to do this, right? But my whole outlook is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to catch kids. Catch them early enough to where, and again, I tell them, I have paved a bunch of these roads. I'm a dope fiend. I've done all the, breaking the laws. I've hurt God knows how many people. I paved these roads, okay? Stay the hell off my road. Don't go down the road. You're gonna come to a fork. This is the way I took. Look where I am. You want this way. But it's gotta be you. I mean, I can talk to people for days. When they decide, you know what? I've hit that brick wall. You can talk to a drug addict or an alcoholic for days until they come to that point where, you know what, I'm done. I can't live this way anymore. How can you help me? That's my deal. I'm trying to get, I would love to be able to get to the younger ones, but right now, hell, if I can get 35, 40, 50-year-olds. There is no time limit to where you say, okay, this one's past redemption. You've seen enough people what you do. Thank you for what you do. And that's coming from a convict.
We're taking him into prison on Thursday.
You're taking him in?
Yeah.
Where?
In Fayette.
Really?
And he's-
Part of me's scared to death, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you.
If you could come, that'd be great. Love to have you. But he's gonna talk to the inmates, obviously, of the program,
Yeah.
and share his story with the inmates. And
Now, how did you get him inside? Did you get his clearances?
Oh yeah?
Really?
Boy, there was a lot of paperwork.
Yes, but, so he's cleared with security to go in?
Yeah, Tina, the
For
superintendent.
how long?
How long is he cleared for? A year. It'd be good to get him in a lot of the prisons to
Yeah,
tell his
that
story.
would be fantastic.
But my wife's only concern was that she gets her car back.
Meaning you wanna
It's
get out.
it's an inside joke, but yeah, that was her only concern, was she wanted her car back. But yeah, I want to get,
Before this place completely clears out, Owen would like to share something with you.
what you got, my brother?
Got some stuff for you from the Crim J Club. To
No.
thank you for your time and for being here today.
He's gonna turn me into a babbling idiot, you know that.
That's
all for
awesome.
You can go through it later, but.
Hang on. I hope you're not one of these soft bastards.
I'm not.
Come here. Oh. Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate your time, sir.
You ever seen Roadhouse?
I'm not. What is it?
It's R-rated, he's
It's-
just a young kid.
It's a Patrick Swayze, Sam Elliott movie. There's a line in there. This old man tells, or Patrick tells this old man, kept calling him sir, and he's calling me sir is like putting an elevator in an outhouse. Don't belong. But I've come to the point now, shit, I kind of like sir. I've finally got to that age where that's okay. But again, hey, whoever put this together, if it was just you or if there was a group, please pass it on. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And I'm trying to keep the waterworks because Eric got me last year. I did a thing at the federal parole office.
The actual
I did
office
one of these talks.
where he finished his parole. He goes back and he spoke to all the judges.
Oh, nice.
Eric, I lost it. He walked up and handed me, what's it called? The coin.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, yeah.
federal coin.
Yeah, we have those too.
Yeah.
And I lost it. I did not see that coming. Nothing. I didn't bring it with me because that's something I keep close.
Sure.
The challenge coin,
Yeah.
in a sense. Yeah, I actually have one. And I just, I lost it. I've got a video of it, and that got me. Because
This guy Eric, he keeps talking about, he and I were like this. I trained him. He's now the deputy chief for the federal probation office. And he and I have been buddies for years, but he's a special guy, and
he's another one of my go-tos.
he's done some amazing things, and he's always, he and I have followed Eric, for all these years, and it's been kind of fun to watch him. So he's actually gonna come to the juvenile class tomorrow, and he's gonna talk about some
That's
of
good.
Because this is a
I'm
really
here
big
for
thing.
3 days.
And then we're gonna end you in prison, but hopefully you'll be able to get out of prison.
That's,
Jeez.
I'm not gonna, tell you a story. There is that little slim that something fucking stupid happens.
It won't happen on my watch, buddy. I got
But
your
better
back.
not.
But yeah,
If it does,
Tina
you better,
Walker
your main concern should not be
is
me.
the superintendent for Fayette, and yeah, we went through a whole approval process to get him in there, but
It's hard to do.
yeah, we had a few letters and, of course, his history and stuff, but she was,
Well,
didn't take her long.
I think having guys or gals hear successful reentrance is very, very important. But as long as they're on paper, we can't even think about having them come in.
Yeah,
We can't get them cleared.
yeah. Well, he was.
I
got
got
paper in
out
20
April 17th of 2000. April 17th of 2003, Eric handed me my paperwork that says I was off paper.
Yeah.
And every year on April 17th, I call him
So it's been 21 years then
that I've been off paper, yeah. And now he's got to the point where he expects that phone call. He likes hearing that phone call. I like calling him.
Is the idea of like going back to prison, even if it's just a talk, like almost triggering for you, or
It's,
not to be like soft?
no.
This is the first time.
I have
You've
been
been
I
back
have been
in
working on this mentally since he first started talking about it. It's only been a couple months. And yeah, there's that little guy, well, my little bastard in my back of my head that what if, I went through behavioral modification when I was in one of the programs, and there's adult, parent, and child. Well, in the child part of the brain, there's a little guy in there called the little professor. You know, that little scheming little bastard that gets you in trouble? Well, he's about 5 foot. He should be about toddler. But he's a real deviant little bastard. And I've been trying to deal with him to tell him this is gonna be okay. But he keeps coming around saying stupid shit. So I think I got him on, you know, reined in and everything. But as long as I got my dog over here. I mean, I
watched your dog, might as well watch you.
yeah, you got my back. I think it'll be fine. It's just there's that little, you know what I'm talking about. You
Well,
do too.
If you want me to, I'll hold your hand as we go in.
Don't count that shit out, okay? You go ahead and giggle about it, but yeah, 63 years old. I might reach over
I'll stand up there with you.
because that's any way you look at it, that's gonna be tough.
Well, this is the first time since you left prison
Since I left,
that he's going inside of a prison. So
I went into a jail in
Yeah.
2000, but that's as close as I've come. I've driven by a lot of prisons purposely, you know, because like I said, I would come up with some of the greatest schemes. Oh, this is really going to work. And Denise and I would literally make a detour. You know, I've gone by Marion, Illinois. You know, what is that, level 6? Oh no, that shit ain't gonna work. You know, because again, I'm on the 3rd strike rule.
I think you called me on it a few times.
Oh yeah, I've called. Yeah.
I can't. There's not a prison close by, so I'm calling you to remind me.
Tell me how stupid this really sounds. He's got no problem doing it.
That's the thing you have to remember is it's like, you know, the drug addiction, you know, you have to keep the mindset that once an addict, you're always an addict. And he has to remember that once you're a parolee, you're always a parolee. And he's got to keep that mindset to help him stay on his track. I don't, honestly at this point, you know, me personally, I don't worry about him too much. Because Denise would kick his butt and his grandkids. I just say, just think about your grandkids and that will soften his little heart. And he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. You know, he talked about being mean in prison and stuff like that.
20 plus years ago, yeah. Now, I know how to talk my way out of shit. I'm really good at it.
I don't know if I told you guys, but when I got this file and my secretary handed me the file, she goes, do not ever leave me alone in the office with him. She goes, he just scares the heck out of me and I don't want anything to do with him. So
Well, the picture she saw was this bald head, long beard, no glasses, nothing. I mean, there was nothing when you looked in my eyes. I walked into her office for the first time. I'm all trimmed up. I've got hair growing on here, and I've got these prison-issued glasses that I refer to as, you're not getting laid this month. You know, these things were ugly as hell, and she went, oh, okay, you can come in. She ended up being a friend of mine. But no, by looking at just the file, oh yeah, you don't want him in here. But people can change. I'm sitting here in front of you. You know, and that's what I'm trying to get across. Yeah, there's some bad people in there. I know of a few of them that, by God, I hope they never get out. I know probably a handful of them that have told the parole board, you let me out, I'll do something worse. Told the parole board this. They don't want to get out, they can't get out.
Do you remember Lance and Kilpack?
I don't, yeah.
They told me that if they took Tommy guns inside bars and shot people back in the 60s. And these guys were in prison when I was working there, and I sat down at the table one day, was eating with them. And I said, so if you guys ever got out, what would you do? And they said, you serious? Yeah, you really asking that question? I said, yeah. And they go, we do the same thing we did before. Cause we're on God's mission to take out the bad people in the world. And that was their mission, so.
And the sad part is they believe that.
Every time they would go to a parole board hearing, they would tell that story. And they said, we don't wanna get out because if we will hurt people. And they didn't care. And Lance just died not too long ago.
Oh, really?
Just got a thing. Do you remember Ed Owinsker? Is name familiar?
That doesn't ring.
He was about 6'6" and ugly as heck. Meaner than a wet hen. He was a serial killer. He was there. I'll tell you about him sometime. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, like I said, I'm here for a couple more days.
Yeah, I'm dragging him into class tomorrow and Thursday, so
That'll be good. We'll have a good discussion.
we'll have some more discussions. All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Who needs a card? I have new ones.
You want me to hit the button on this for you, Lauren?
Yeah, would you please?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's better.